play badminton for one reason and one reason only. The shuttlecocks, baby. God. Yeah. That's what they used to call me.
Shuttlecock?
Why
am I not
nickname.
surprised? We're starting with
That's
that.
hilarious.
And we'll just go from there. So.
It's all uphill from here, folks. Yeah, seriously. Okay, so in the news. Yeah. Letter to the editor.
Yeah, right?
Was a good one.
Yeah, Frankie stirred some stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah. Although.
It started on Facebook.
Frankie stirred some stuff.
He did stir some stuff. Yeah, shocking, right? And again, David interviewed Mr. Gill, for the whole thing beforehand, and then they had their 2 meetings, and nobody seems to be very happy about what's going to happen.
Give us the gist.
Basically, the Quincy parochial system, the K-8 system, there's a committee that's been put together, and what they really want to do is you want to do away with K-8s at 4 parishes. We currently have K-8s at St. Dominic's, St. Peter's, Blessed Sacrament, and St. Francis. They want to do away with that, and they want to go that one model will be a K pre-K. The other will be a certain number of grade school kids.
1 through 3.
1 through 3.
Another one was 4.
4 through 5, and then basically 6, 7, 8, or whatever. So they want to split it up and still utilizing all 4 schools, but having it based by grades.
What's the purpose?
In order to save money.
Okay.
In order to eliminate the disparities that currently exist among the K-8 system.
Which are?
Because St. Peter's has all the good toys, and the others really don't.
Why?
Because there's more money in St. Peter Parish.
But why? Like, it's the actual parish.
The parish, the school. So.
But that's based on
the people who live there and the people who are members, and there's no bound.
So it's not just like.
So it is
not
kind
just
of
one.
There's no. Well, there is. Yes, there are boundaries, but those boundaries are totally ignored. I mean,
so
people,
you can send your kid anywhere.
Yes, there are people who live in Spring Lake who send their kids to.
That wasn't like that when I went there. Like,
so
you had to go.
Is it called like a? So is the whole parochial system under one umbrella?
Yes.
Then why wouldn't
deanery. The Quincy Deanery,
okay, so
which is a subset of the Springfield Diocese.
Okay, so the Quincy Deanery, I know Brittany was explaining to me because I had the question of why does St. Peter's get all the good stuff? Because I don't know anything. Here, let me go ahead. Full disclosure, I have no skin in the game. My kids go to public schools. I've always gone.
And again, I am a Catholic, but my kids went public school. We made that choice early. My wife teaches at the public school. Brittany got kicked out of Notre Dame and ended up in Quincy High.
Jesus.
But is that true?
Did you not get kicked out of Notre Dame or not?
That's amazing.
No, I got kicked off the soccer team.
There you go.
And then I accrued
now here comes the truth.
13 people to join me at senior high when I was like, hey, are you tired of
That's the leader I love.
This?
All right, so hang on. So the Quincy Deanery.
Norma Ray.
All right, so the Deanery, am I saying that right?
Deanery, yes.
Deanery, okay. So if St. Peter's has all the monies, and I get that, it's probably by, I'll call it district because that's what I'm familiar with. Why wouldn't they just take all the monies and put it in this deanery and then distribute evenly?
Yes, if you are in the other 3 parishes, you think that's wonderful, and if you're in St. Peter, you think, what the hell? Why are you taking our money?
But if you were a St. Peter's parent, would you rather have that scenario or the one that they're proposing?
Well, having been a former parent of St. Peter's children who went through the PSR program, which is a parish school religion, because again, as I said earlier, they went to public school. Mm-hmm. I always
called it public school religion. That just shows you how
it's both. It's been known as both. It was a catechism when I was a kid because Mark Twain didn't have no Catholic schools, and we did that every Wednesday night in Perry. So I would want to sustain as many parishes as possible. You got to remember, back in the day when I first moved to Quincy, we had 7, 8 parishes. I mean, we had a ton of them. And then they had the consolidation, which nobody was happy with. And even in some of the social media posts today, people were still bitching about that. And it's like, okay, well, that wasn't sustainable either. Of course, we also have the Latin Mass only St. John's at 8th and Chestnut. They don't have a school. They're the only one without a school. So I think the sustainable, you have to do a sustainable model because basically the diocese has said, the Springfield Diocese, of which Quincy's a part of, has basically said, if you don't reconsolidate and refigure this so you have all of your schools will stop hemorrhaging money, because currently 3 of the 4 are hemorrhaging money, then we are going to shut down 2 of your schools, which will eventually lead to the shutdown of 2 parishes.
Why are they hemorrhaging money? Because their student base can't afford the
Correct. Their student
tuition?
base has not grown enough to keep up with expenses.
Okay.
So, and again, so we had these meetings the last, as Frankie wrote about, we've had these public meetings in which many parents are very upset.
Why are they upset?
Because they want their kids, because they might have 3 kids and they want all their kids to go to St. Peter's until they have to go to Notre Dame.
They like the
convenience.
one-house, schoolhouse experience, because I have a friend who has just one, and she was really upset about it, just one child. And it's not necessarily the getting to see your siblings, it's also getting to see your 8th grade buddies, or like the 1st grade and 7th grade have a buddy system in these K through 8 houses. So in her experience, having like one child, she wanted her to be there, grow comfortable, from K through 8. Also, to have the same experience that she had in her childhood. It's
what you're used to.
It's nostalgia.
So maybe convenience, but also if I had a kindergartner going in, I would want the maybe the positive influences of growing up around people who kind of bring her up.
No, you
through the
basically
ranks.
just want to make sure you can just drop off all your kids at one spot.
Well, I
That's
think
basically what it is.
that's the
I think you're
convenience side of
missing
it.
No, I really
There's
don't.
a convenience side of
I
it.
read my friend's post, who
Okay.
I'm referring to, and her heart is in this. She has nothing to do with convenience. It has to do with the traditional one house, like schoolhouse experience.
So this is kind of like Ole Miss. So they do this thing where it's like they have them all in the same area, because the 8th graders learn compassion through dealing with younger students, and then the younger students are kind of naturally lifted emotionally and educationally by the older students. So I do think there's something to be said about that. I do understand the convenience as well.
Convenience always, I think.
Also, when you grow up in that situation, you're like, whoa, why is this changing all of a sudden?
But it's changing because it's not sustainable.
Yeah.
That's why it's changing. Now, basically what I had proposed, and again, not only I discussed this with Frankie, I discussed this, I've got a men's group that I attend regularly, and we were having some discussions on this, and one of my friends in my men's group has a wife who teaches at one of the schools, and they're very upset about it, as I get that. But it's like they're trying to survive. They're trying to figure out a way to survive. And
have they tapped the parents for maybe some suggestions?
I think that's the problem. I think we went to a top-down model on this instead of a grassroots up model.
Which is kind of what one of the benefits of the parochial school system is, or has been kind of a foundation of that, is we tap the parents and again, the districts, I don't really know the word, but we involve them in our educational system. So maybe that's kind of more of
But also remember, I mean, none of this is ever done without pain. Remember when Quincy built the new schools and did all the redistricting? There was pain there. People were ticked off about that, and there still is. Yes, absolutely. And again, these kinds of things, and the Quincy, they really didn't do that bottom up anyway. It was top down, and the parochials are trying to do this the same way. I mean, you can be top down when you're running a smoothly run operation like Muddy River News, and one person can dictate, and everybody just bends the knee and says, "Yes, sir." That's great. But when you're doing something like this, yeah, right. I know it was a joke. But when you're looking at something like this, yes, a community-based effort. The community should have come first. The meetings need to come. They need to have these discussions. And again, but I think what they really need to do is say, look, parishes 1, 2, and 3 are losing X. Parish 4 has a slight profit, if you want to call it that. Mm-hmm. How do we make this work? Kids at one parish, this parish has a STEM lab and all this other cool stuff, and they're going to build all this new stuff, and this parish isn't done anything, and they've got a really old building. How do you balance that? Shouldn't every 4th grade kid in the parochial system have the same stuff? Shouldn't they?
Fundamentally, yeah.
Okay.
We want everybody to have the same opportunity.
But they're not funded that way.
But here's what I would say. Here would be my suggestion. I know within each school and each within the deanery, there are some very, 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 very smart business-minded individuals who could probably sit down and figure out a way.
Well, they need to step up.
Well, that's what I'm calling for. So rather than throwing it out to Facebook, come up with a logical suggestion, operational suggestion that says, "Here's what I propose. If I don't like your current suggestion or solution, this is what I'm proposing to you. Let's take a look at it and see if it'll work."
Well, when you talk about the inequities that you talk about, when you got families who live in Spring Lake, and they're blowing past St. Francis to go to St. Peter's.
Okay, so my question with that, so this proposal, and everyone's like, well, like you just said, St. Peter's, like they're going to think like, what the heck, you know, we invested all this, or, you know, we do have the better stuff. Isn't it outside of the Catholic values to, I guess, have that selfishness? Like, wouldn't the Catholic
don't they distribute wealth to everyone? Or
They should.
Like if it's
within
Catholic
Catholicism.
Yes, you should.
Like why?
I mean, don't get me wrong.
Jesus washed everyone's feet.
This is going against the principal values. Like you're not giving equal whatever, and isn't that something that Catholics?
I think that's what the model that they're trying to shift to does.
So they're trying to kind of shove this. They're going to be like, "Hey, man, you're Catholic, so you need to go along with this. This is what
be
God
a Catholic."
Said. Yeah, be a good Catholic.
But let me tell you why it's hard to swallow, and it's because it's what's always been done, right? This is how we've always done it. It is a change that's not going to be easily. It's not.
Catholicism is always changing, though.
Yeah.
And that's part of being a Catholic is you have to change with it. Yeah. Am I right or am I wrong?
Yeah, you either change or you decide to go join a non-denominational church or you decide to get out. Sure.
Yeah. I don't see,
How's
again.
It always I mean, it's always changing, too, by the leaders talking.
It is.
Because they talk to God.
But we changes because you have different, you're going to get a different priest every, so many years and all that stuff.
Did God give them this proposal?
I don't think God gave them a proposal. I think they had a meeting and they had their own proposal and they came up with it, whether it's good, bad, ugly, or indifferent.
Here's what I think that parents are struggling with it because it's a change that maybe they didn't have a whole lot of say in, which I have some problems with that as well. Within the public school,
when you're paying for it,
when you're paying, right, and whether I'm paying for it or my kids are paying for it, figuratively or educationally, I understand the struggle with that. Maybe it's more about communication, transparency, because all the posts that I've seen that, it's financially, but how is this going to financially help? Well,
how's this going to make us solvent?
How are we going to solve everything with this move? And again, like I always say, the proof is in the pudding. So show me the process flow, the thought map, and then the solutions that you expect. And then in a year, if we don't get these results, we need to come up with something different, and let's not just rely on the solution as the word of the Lord, right? And then keep going with it, even though it's inconvenient for parents. It hasn't done what they've said, because I'm all for trial and error. But it's this seems to be inconveniencing a lot of parents, but also everybody's kind of hesitant for it.
Well, again,
which I'm trying to play both sides.
In my group chat that I was having with my friends, I said, look, I think a bottom-up approach with basically to say, look, this is our plan. If you want to keep your current model, we're going to raise tuition 25% and put that forth to everybody. Do you want a 25% tuition increase in order to keep our system the way it is, or do you want to move to the new model and let the people decide? And
is that just an arbitrary number?
That's my arbitrary number.
Okay, yeah.
So yes,
okay.
It's up to them to say what that number is.
Sure.
I'm saying X. Raise tuition by X to keep it the way you want and the way you like it, because all these Facebook posts say, well, I gladly pay more tuition to do this.
Who's the financial guru that sat down and said this is the solution?
Well,
is that transparent?
It should be.
Yeah.
But again, I mean, when you go to Mass every Sunday, you can look in the bulletin and you can see where your money's going and the money that's come in. Now, and again, that's just for each parishioner, but they need to sit down and have a presentation and say, look, these are our finances for this year. This is where we are. This is where we expect to be for each parish. And this is how we need to fix this. Yeah. And they should be more open and transparent about that.
It's called a forecast.
Yes.
Yeah.
So
every business does it. And whether people like to admit it or not, Catholicism, churches, Catholic schools, it is all reliant on money, so it is a business. And I know that's not a popular saying, but you do have to have someone paying attention to that and changing things as, the economy changes and people can't afford it. And that's unfortunate. But when you have certain schools that are in certain districts that aren't getting the same technology or the same, I'm sure that those schools are probably pissed at the other schools that have it if they pay the same tuition or not.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's kind of,
and pay the same tuition, and they don't enforce the boundary rules. But again, looking at this from a macro level, it's like the status quo is not an option. So what do we do? And that's the thing. It's like you have to, but again, all these people who've said, I'll pay more tuition online today and yesterday or whatever, it's, oh, will you? So when they say, oh, great, you're going to pay more tuition, great. Here's the thing. But how many people balked when St. Peter, for instance, instituted the rule that, okay, if you attend Mass X% of the time, you're going to pay this for your kids. But if you don't say it, you're going to pay, if you don't attend X%, you're going to pay more. There was some discussion about that. So, and again, that was at St. Peter. And again, the
strange rules.
I know.
Yeah.
So
all
strange.
These rules.
A lot easier just send your kids to public schools, right? No,
well,
just kidding.
Well, I mean, we have the same. So I was going to kind of equate that. So public schools, we don't pay, for the private education.
And
so,
I was totally joking about that.
But when they, they built the new schools and then kind of diversified the schools, I'm not saying it was good, bad, or ugly, but we didn't really have a say in that. I think as a private school, you would tap your parents to kind of get some.
You're putting thousands of dollars.
You would get some feedback. I mean, I understand. I don't
say-so.
really get a say. I mean, I have a say by sending my kid to school there.
And
That's my say.
And paying your property taxes.
But I think if sending my kid to a private school, it's more like, well, I want to have a say in that, and I like to consider myself pretty smart when it comes to operations and finances and ledgers and blah blah blah. But
if you're buying something,
let me know what my money's going to. But also the parents should know that up front as well. When I'm paying this tuition, where is it getting bucketized, and how am I ensuring that my kid is going to have the same experience that this child is? And if not, do I want to still send my child there, or do they have the option to send them to St. Peter? Is that not okay?
That's the problem.
Oh, okay.
The problem is St. Peter's.
St. Peter's influxed with
St.
kids?
Peter's enrollment is as big as the other three schools combined. That's the problem.
And
because
you have
they're
to have
ignoring
so
the
many
boundaries.
And you have to have so many schools, or can you just make St. Peter one giant school so that every kid has the same?
But physically, the building.
The building can't do it, although they want to do a new building that would build everything. But again,
there you go.
That's why they're wanting to do the whole system to where, okay, we're going to break this up into these different levels. So, again, St. Peter would eventually be basically, for lack of a better term, Quincy Notre Dame Junior High or whatever, and the other schools would serve the other lower grade levels.
Is St. Anthony still a school?
St. Anthony's is combined with St. Dominic's, and St. Dominic's is a school, but St. Anthony's is the parish.
Okay.
So,
they got lots of land out there. Let's just build a giant.
Well, I said
school.
St. Dominic is the idea because the St. Dominic school itself, I mean, they used to have Mass in the cafeteria and all that stuff, but now it's not even, again, now that they've combined with St. Anthony, it's St. Anthony's the parish, St. Dominic's is a school. They do have all the land there. That would be the ideal place. And also, that's the place where, most of the population growth is going to that end of town. So why wouldn't you build a brand spanking new whatever out there?
Then you have to have
But again,
busing.
you're also talking about the money and building new facilities to do that. And now it's like, okay, we have the existing facilities, except the expansion they want to do at St. Peter. So why don't we just use our existing facilities in order to facilitate whatever growth we want to achieve, if achieving growth is even possible? Because
So
I don't
by
know that it
diversifying
is.
the schools, they will all have the same level of funding?
Yes, that's part of the deal.
Okay.
I think, or I wonder, back to what I was saying with that one house school experience. I did that my kindergarten through 8th grade year.
Until you got kicked out.
No, St. Mary's School. Then I did 2 years at Notre Dame and decided to leave. And I wonder how many people are going to decide to leave the Catholic school and go to, we have 2 other schools here in town, Olmus being one of them. I know it's not entirely it's
classical.
And there is some religion.
Through the teachings, it's natural,
And then we also have St. James, which is a Lutheran school. Their Christian values are very similar to the Catholic ones. Their only thing is, I think the only difference is you're not seeing crucifixes in their church, and they do not believe in the consecration of the Eucharist. They take it as a symbol. How many people are we going to see transferred to St. James because they want that K through 8?
Well, and also, how many are you
experience?
going to see transition to the homeschooling? Because that's been a huge trend on social media and elsewhere, that, when you start to kind of disrupt status quo in schools with political, or other interruptions, people just kind of we're going the whole opposite way and we're going to take care of it ourselves. And then what does that do to things? So all these things need to be considered. Again, I don't have skin in the game. I wish I had a solid answer. Hopefully they can come to something that works for everyone. And if it is, combining everything or splitting off in certain grades, hopefully they can at least show results after a year to say, here's what it's done. So then parents can actually sit at the table together and say, okay, it hasn't been as bad as we thought. We didn't really like the initial thought of the changing of the experience, but knowing the results, and now that everybody will have more of more of an opportunity to experience the same thing that some of these other kids do, maybe it'll shake out. But it's like this impulsive thing where you're like, nope. Mm-mm.
Nobody likes change.
Gut wrench. Nope.
Yeah, change is hard.
Gut check. You're like,
Nobody
nope.
wants to see a sausage made.
Nope. Ew, I don't.
No, it's gross.
Forget that.
Yeah, no. Real quick, let's talk about a more pleasant subject as we wrap up and get to our second half. Kudos to our friend Scott Edlin. For the Gem City Concert Series. He's announced it's coming back. Going to be July, the weekend of the 10th, 11th, 12th, somewhere in that ballpark.
Yeah.
I talked to him last night. I might have overcommitted you two to some extra duties for the event. It's going to be a lot of fun.
You want me to work security? Got this.
Yes, that's
I got
exactly
it.
what
Are we
it is.
go-go dancers?
No, I would never
Do I get backstage
that.
passes? That's all I care
Yes.
about. Boom, I'll
get
do whatever.
free drink tickets?
Yes.
I'll do it.
Done,
So
done,
yes.
done.
So
Yep.
yes. So
Yeah.
but it's going to be great.
I'll pick up cigarette butts. I'm cool.
We don't know who the band's going to be yet.
It's bound
but-
to be someone
But
good.
I think
But it's gonna be
we'll
big.
be the first to know, I hope.
I think yes, we will. But again, their average crowd last year at each show was about 3,800. So it's
That's
going to be
incredible.
our job to make sure that crowd number bumps up to about 5,000. And so we're going to help them, and we're going to promote, and we're going to have a lot of fun, and we're going to partner with them in this. And they have a new promoter who I'm excited. Brittany and I met with him for a little bit last night, and then I went out and talked to him a little bit more later on. And yeah, I think it's going to be great. So again, Scott brought this thing from his little flatbed in the Newcomb lot, and now it's grown into this monster. And again, he's going to have 5,000 people there next year, and it's going to be great.
And not just
So,
there. Butts and seats and heads
yeah.
and beds, man.
Yeah,
I mean, it's
absolutely.
good for Quincy. It is just outstanding.
David covered
for
the park
Quincy.
board meeting where they made the pitch last night, and I talked to the park board guys last night, and yeah, they're all excited about doing this again. I think it's going to be great. So again, I just want to say kudos to Scott.
Way to go, Scott.
And I think it's going to be great. And I know we've got a guest coming up the second half who we all get a chance to talk to a little bit, and that's going to be fun.
It's going to be interesting. And so we talk about like everybody getting fired up about certain things. Our guest is sure to spark debates everywhere he goes. Right,
the fire.
He creates. He stokes the fire, and I'm really excited to talk to him. And I know Brittany is too. And Bob will interject hopefully a little bit. Right. So
Yes.
Bob.
all right, here
I'm
we
gonna be
go.
Producer Bob in this role. All right, we'll be
Stay
right
tuned.
back.
The Liquor Booth is your home for a huge selection of beer, wine, and spirits. The Liquor Booth has 2 locations in Quincy, 3520 Broadway and 1500 North 12th Street. The Liquor Booth, where it's always happy hour.
For his outspoken nature and large stature and even larger personality, let's give a warm, muddy welcome to Steve Homan. What's up, buddy?
Not much.
That's it?
Yeah.
Okay.
That's unusual.
I was going to
for
say,
you.
there's always something going on with you, I think, so when we teased this the other day, I said, if you know him, you know that he's an interesting dude. If you don't know him, this is sure to be an interesting conversation.
You put it under the entertainment category.
Yeah.
Right.
So I've watched a few live videos of you recently on Facebook, and I know that a lot of people kind of follow your live Facebook posts because you tend to spark debate in this town.
Yeah.
And, although some people may not agree with it, I think it's kind of your goal is to spark debate.
Absolutely.
Yeah? Okay, so we were outside talking to you a little bit. You're not from Quincy originally, right?
No, I was born in Keokuk, Iowa, raised in Minden, Illinois. Stayed there till my parents divorced 2 months after I graduated, and then moved to Quincy.
Yeah. But you've been here since.
Yeah, been here ever since, and not had a lot of jobs in my life. I basically worked at Penn Daniels warehouse. They were a distribution center for Jack's, then Shopco, and then worked at an electronics store after that, and then got on at UPS when I was 20, when I just turned 22 years old. I've been there ever since.
Yeah. So we were asking, well, Brittany asked you why Quincy, right?
Quincy.
Like, why do you stay here?
Yeah.
Just people like you. You know, it's the everyday people that are in this town. And, you know, there's a lot of great, I've been to 5 of the 7 continents in this world. I've been to, you name it, I've been there. I've forgotten more places than I can remember. But this town is home. And it's a good community. There's a lot of good people in this town. And I know a lot of people think I bash on Quincy and this and that, and that I'm always pointing out the negative things. Well, I do point out the negative things because I want people to see what's actually going on in our town instead of just being snowballed by the media, the Channel 10, Channel 7, the WIG, whatever it might be. I want people to know these are the problems that are in this town. But overall, this town's a great, great town. I call it home, and I always will call it home, just because it's such a great community.
Yeah.
So
Anything to make a community better, I think, too, is you do have to point out the negatives to get those positive. Like, if you're trying to succeed and
you're not going to fix anything unless you dig in, unless you dig a little bit and talk about the stuff that's not going right.
Exactly.
Which we were talking outside, and we can call it corruption. You can call it just mishandlings of certain situations, and I think everywhere has that, like we were talking. But it is personal to us, very personal to you, obviously, because it's personal to us. We live here. We want to see the best for Quincy and for our community and the people who live here. But you do it in a very entertaining way to me. But I know that it does. It can be considered controversial because for some reason, Steve, people just love to hate you.
Yeah.
Why do you think that is? Has it always been like that?
I think so.
Yeah?
I really do. And
like, since you were a kid?
no, if you would know me when I was a kid in high school, I was a 6'5", 160-pound kid that graduated high school, pencil thin, but I always cared about people, and I didn't come out of my shell till later on in life. Same way with my size. Like, I didn't start gaining weight until I was 30 years old. And people that I see back in the day that I went to school with, they don't even recognize me because I'm twice the size of what I was. And but people love to hate me, and you touched on it when we were talking outside, Ashley. I think people, you either love me or you hate me.
Yeah.
I don't think there's really an in between. And I got a couple buddies of mine that I used to not be friends with, and now I'm friends with them because I'm a lot like them guys. And I think I was always hated on them because I seen a lot of them in me.
Sure.
Or me and them, however you want to say it.
Right.
But yeah, it's, far as, sparking controversy and stuff like that, the last 3.5 years of my life, I've got pretty strong shoulders. I don't feel like anything can hold me down. I go out there and I'll ask anybody anything, whether it's a homeless person, whether it's a person, trying to get city funds on taxpayer dollars, whatever it might be, or if somebody's not doing their job in this town, mayor, alderman, whoever it might be. I want the thing that's lacking in our society today is accountability.
Absolutely.
That's my biggest thing. And I don't care whether it's children at school. We don't hold the children accountable. Well, we got to coddle the kids now. And then we coddle the teenagers, and then the next thing you know, they're adults, and we're still coddling these kids.
Yeah.
And that's the problem. And I want to hold people accountable, whether it's children, whether it's teenagers, whether it's my city alderman, whether it's the mayor, whoever it might be. And leaders in our country. That's it. All starts locally, and then it goes up the ladder.
Yeah. I agree. So taking it back a little bit, when you were in high school and you were 160 pounds, and how tall did you say?
6'5".
Were you still wearing these bad boys?
They were probably falling off. They're falling off.
Yeah, I was going to thank you for dressing up today because, I love it. I mean, this is like your MO. This is Steve Homan. I mean, this is, so you were talking about, we were, neighbors, which we are again, thank goodness, because I always love seeing you drive down the street. So, just to bring it back, and I know this doesn't sum you up, but neighbor, I think you're all around a good guy. I consider you a friend. Car guru, you're very political. You've been outspoken about your stance on politics and being a Trump supporter. You have been a mainstay in this community, whether it's a businessman running nightclubs where we would see at the Abbey when we started our relationship, right? Like it was like doing shots and getting to know you from then, and then, you know, watching you through the Phoenix, and, you know, everything since then. It's been very interesting, to say the least. And I love that you're using a platform, whatever that is, to hold the accountability. I think that's incredible. Do you think that there is something that that kind of holds you back as far as like getting more involved? Like, what could you do that, or, you know, how we're talking about like when people love to hate you, what do you think could get your voice heard by the masses, right?
What do I think?
Yeah, I mean, like, how do you get to the next level? So you're doing what you can. You've made you've staked your claim in this community. People may or may not agree with you. It doesn't matter, right? But how do you get more of what you're thinking and more of that accountability out there? I know that you've been going to city council meetings and having your voice heard. Do you think there are more things that you plan to do in the future?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Absolutely. Whether it be, you know, as far as like my Facebook lives and stuff that me and Wills do. Wills Nixon is my partner on our Facebook lives, and it's usually after city council meetings on Monday night. And you know,
What do you call those? I call them Steve Homan's live.
Yeah.
I know.
Wills Nixon's like your Andy Richter.
Yeah.
He Wills is something else, because Wills is a lot like me. Wills probably cusses a little bit more, but his heart is into the community as well.
Yeah.
But he calls a spade, and if you don't like it, sorry. You know, sorry if you get offended, and that's kind of how I am too. You know.
Is it really sorry though?
No, it's not.
Yeah, I was like,
no, and
not.
you're so right, Brittany, because it's like, you know, toughen up. It's a tough world out there, and that's the problem that we have in our society right now, is that we coddle too many people, and when they get out to the real world, they're not ready for the real world,
right?
Because we've coddled these kids their whole life, and we've coddled them in school, and I feel so sorry for these teachers that are teaching these kids, because they can't discipline them.
Yeah.
I mean, I remember getting in third grade, Mrs. Whitty took a ruler, smacked me on my knuckles, and bloodied one of my knuckles. I'll never forget that. And I got swatted by, it was either Mr. Plot, I think it was Mr. Plotz, in Minden Elementary. And I only messed up once.
Yeah.
Didn't do it again, because you learned your lesson. And, you know, that's the problem. You know, in today's schooling system, now, Johnny, don't do that, and they don't get disciplined. What's that going to do?
It's not so much, though, on the teachers, too. It's the administration. I don't think the
Yes.
teachers can do much disciplining.
Well, also parents, because a lot of that starts at home too.
yes.
So it's like it's easy to blame. It's easy to put the blame places, but knowing that a lot of that respect and accountability starts at home, but then perpetuating it when you get out into, let's say you do run for alderman, right? And you get this like, we call it the fart chamber, but it's actually like the echo chamber of everybody telling you, you're doing a great job, you know, keep doing what you're doing. But then you have guys like you who come up and say, whoa, whoa, whoa. Are you really doing the right things and for the right reasons? And I think that is important, you know, whether we always think that it's being done tactfully or not is another story. So when I was asking, like, how do you get more, how do you create more of a vortex where you get followers who are like, yeah, we do need to follow this guy, right? How do you get the people who, you know, just love to hate you more on board with, well, maybe we should listen to that fella, right?
Right.
Because it's like, I know people, not everybody agrees with me, but how do I get more people to at least listen to what I'm saying? And I think being on here is one, of course, one way, hopefully, right?
Yeah, different platform. I do have one suggestion for Steve Homan Facebook Live to get more people. Put those as public. Every time you do those, put those as public, because only your friends can see it, and the people that love to hate you don't get to see it, and you're not changing. You're in your own fart chamber, Steve.
And you're so right.
Right.
You know, both you girls both nailed a lot of things I want to touch on, and fart chamber. And you're right, because I've had several people in the last month. I couldn't tell you how many friend requests after city council meetings.
Request, you don't have to accept all that
Yeah.
too. I mean, it's good.
Yeah,
It's a good look,
but a lot of
especially
them,
if you're.
and I'll message them. I'll say, "Do I know you?"
Right.
Well, I wanted to see the video, or I wanted to see your Facebook Live, and that's 90% of it is what people are telling me.
Yeah.
And you know,
Go
do they
public
like
on those, and
yeah.
then set everything else. You know, it's just a switch. You can make everything else private but just those lives, you can make those public, and that's
Yeah.
gonna get your
Well,
platform
that's a
out
good
a little
suggestion.
more.
You're gonna have to show me how to do that.
But
Yeah.
then you got to get more than just the social media platform, like what we were talking about. Alderman, any aspirations for that?
Absolutely, yeah. I
Plans?
Yes, I do want to do that. I was thinking about running against Jack Holschlag this upcoming year, and do I like Jack? Absolutely, I like Jack Holschlag. Jack Holschlag's a good guy. He's a hardworking man. Do I agree with him? No. Me and him don't agree on very much at all because of the things that he votes on, but I still think Jack's a good guy. Jack's a hard worker. His co-partner in that ward is Ben Olzak. I definitely don't agree with Ben on anything that he votes for either, and that's probably what I would, in the next election. I think it's 2 or 3 years. 2 years, I think I'm probably going to be running against him.
Yeah, I would say, that's your best bet between the two. Jack's very established, and
Hey, don't count
I'm
me
not
out.
saying-
I was going to say, don't hold him down, man.
not
That's what people
saying,
told me
but,
when I
like-
ran against Mike Ryan. And I was like, look, I didn't have anything against him personally, and we actually agreed on a lot of stuff. But
look where
best chances.
Yeah.
It is kind of like when you're an incumbent, right? You're like, well, I'm just gonna roll the dice, which I did, and I think it's worth it. Especially if if that's where your heart is. I think Bob's got a question here, real quick.
Couple of things. First off, okay, you mentioned the city council thing. So you live in Ward 7 or Ward 5 now?
Ward 5, but I'm gonna. My main address is going to be Ward 7.
Oh, okay. Well, that makes sense. The other thing, from just a little advice from somebody who's done this for 30 some odd years, I think the best way for you to grow what you do is, and the reason that when Brittany and Ashley and David said, you ought to have Steve on, I think if you stick to issues and you bring up issues like you did with the Creek thing, which I thought was really smart and really strong and really had meaning, and stay away from the damn personal attacks, especially Will's. If you guys would stick just more to issues and that kind of stuff, you're going to get traction, and people are going to say, oh, okay, that's unsolicited advice from a guy that's done this for a minute.
Yeah.
No, I absolutely agree with you. And just like Will's, I had to get on him about cussing. And and
cussing's fine.
Hey, look, I
put him
cuss
with
like a
Ashley.
sailor.
Cussing's not the problem.
Yeah, but what he was using, he wasn't saying Ben Olzak. He was saying
Yes.
Ben something else.
Yes.
Oh,
And
yeah,
I'm
we don't
not
do
gonna
that.
say it.
Yeah.
And
that
hey,
does make you weaker.
Yeah,
Is
yeah,
it
it makes you
is
look
it funny?
stupid.
Yeah.
A little, but
maybe the
it
first
doesn't.
time.
Yeah. I do think, though, to add to what Bob was saying, I think it does make it makes you sound a lot more invested, a lot more, like you're an advocate for our community if you build people up, even if they are fucking up, right? Like, we understand that this is a tough job, but here's how I would do it differently. And I think that's how you would grow and get that vortex of support. And I think you have a huge, huge backing right now. I want to see that grow because I love your viewpoint, even if I don't always agree, which 99.9% I do. There are so many people in this world that don't get heard because they don't do it with tact. And I think that that's kind of where you have so much, not you personally, and I'm not attacking you, but like there's just so much potential for you to help this community. And I look forward to seeing what you do in the future, 100%.
Make people remember what you said, not how you said it. Is that an old Don Krim?
Yeah.
Joe Conover? Yeah.
Well, and actually,
Old thing
Maya
that I
Angelou
learned,
said
so.
that they'll always remember how you made them feel,
Yes.
right? Yeah, they
Yes.
won't remember what you did or what you said, but they'll always remember how you made them feel.
Yeah, and you're exactly right.
Yeah.
And I have there was a guy that was on Facebook, and he was messaging me, and he was messaging on the city council's Facebook page and everything, and he said this guy just comes off as being aggressive and stuff, and that's where a lot of people get me mixed up because
They don't know you.
they don't know me.
Yeah.
I'm a big teddy bear. I really am. My heart's huge, and I would help anybody out. Do I have a lot of passion? Absolutely,
Yeah.
because
Yeah.
I want this town to succeed. We got a great town here. We got great people. I feel like that we have a very weak city council right now. A lot of weak city council members. We have, I love Richie Reese. Richie's a great friend. But I cracked down on Richie. I cracked down on some of the other ones. And and speaking about when you were going to make the run for alderman, and I remember reaching out to you.
Yeah.
And there's things you learn when you get older, and there's things that you learn, and and I regret some of the things I said, and I wish you would have won.
Yeah.
I'm not gonna lie.
Yeah.
I mean,
I'm glad you did.
Well, so I'm glad I didn't, but I do think a lot of people they thought that I was going to be a yes person going
Yes,
in, right?
absolutely.
So they kind of approached me with this idea,
Did they help
thinking,
you?
yeah, some of them did, but to the point where I immediately saw the bubble of oh, she's going to be our girl that we can just get in there and kind of influence. And I think
I'll take your money, but I'm not.
Right.
I'm not your puppet.
well, but it kind of goes back to, that's why I wanted to be independent, because I don't want to be associated with either side. I want to make my decisions on policy based on the constituents, based on how they, vote for me and what my stance is on things. And I think that's kind of what we're missing now. And we talked about the party politics, right? The partisanship. It's necessary in some aspects because you want people to know how you feel about certain things. But I think that the influence that comes from within the city council and from within our local politics, it's almost a detriment to be one side or not, because they use your party and your party's policies against you when you're taking a stance on
voting
something.
on potholes.
Right. So then it's like, I feel like they influence you. So as much as I do, I think that some partisanship can help out local, state, federal. On a lot of things, especially locally. I just don't know that it's important. But I think more than anything is a strong personality and someone who's self-assured enough to go in there and say, F y'all, I'm voting for, I'm voting for, yeah, right? I'm voting for my constituents. I'm voting for by my moral compass, and I'm voting for things that I think will help this community. And I do think that you can do that. And don't ever regret, reaching out to me, because I thought nothing more than support. You were concerned about why I was getting into it, and you had questions about what I was doing, and I appreciate that. And I think when you're going to run for an office or run for a seat, you got to be willing to be held accountable 100%.
and you're absolutely right.
Yeah.
It's I make mistakes every day, and I'm that's why the more I get into this, I question stuff. It's just like I called Chief Yates yesterday on some things that were going on about runners down Main Street. Why are these runners?
I saw that.
And I'm going to the YMCA at 5 o'clock in the morning, and there's runners going down Main Street half the way out in the road. I mean, come on. I appreciate you're taking care of yourself, your health, and you're running, but don't take up half the road, because my eyesight isn't the best anymore.
Yeah, right.
And your eyes are fuzzy in the morning, and they got their flashing things on. But what is the law? And he explained everything to me. Same way with bicyclists, and the same thing with motorized bicycles. And
Damn now.
It just.
So they can just run down the middle of the street?
Yeah, I'll give you the article that he told me to look up, but it's amazing. The state law on that is that they can do it. They don't have to have insurance. They don't have to have license plates. They don't have to have none of that stuff. So, and my big gripe is that.
Who pays for that when there's an accident?
Bingo.
Yeah.
What
happens then?
What happens? I'll tell you what happens. We pay for it.
Yeah.
Our insurance, we're screwed. If they ran in our car or something when they're doing it, and I said, well, can't we? That was my thing. Can't we come up with some city ordinance?
I mean, we have plenty of them.
Yeah.
Let's add one more.
Right.
But just as you say that, Brittany, the problem that I have with a lot of the city council members is that we have ordinances, but we don't hold them ordinances.
enforce them.
Yeah, we don't enforce them at all.
To some people they do, but not to all.
Bingo. And that's my other thing too. See, that's why I love you guys, because you guys are so well versed, and you guys know so much about this town and how it is ran and everything else. But it's just like I've told the mayor, you do for one, you better do for all.
Yeah.
Not just because not because my name is Julie Brink, do I get a tree cut down in my yard, and it's on taxpayer dollars. Because if it was Joe Schmo over here, the city's going to tell you, no, you can't get that tree down because it's in your yard. But because she's on the city planning commission, that they'll cut her tree down.
Yeah.
Well, that you just took money out of a small business owner, a tree trimming service, whether it be Bob Turstrip, Larry Brumbaugh, Steve Locke, whoever it might be. You just took $2,000 or $3,000 out of that small business owner's pocket.
But also took taxpayer dollars to do that.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Taxpayer dollars to cut a tree down that should have been paid for by that residents of that home there.
Yeah.
Not taxpayer dollars.
Yeah.
And
those are things we know about. So
And that's something that you just kind of stumbled on.
Yeah.
Some other things that had no idea about. I mean, I don't think I knew anything about it until the Muddy River News article came up, but the EPA.
The landfill?
Landfill.
How did you stumble?
Yeah, what the hell? So you're like
that?
Mm.
detective?
No, I'm not even a
Car
detective.
guru?
It's just
like,
I'm around town a lot, whether it be just at UPS delivering. Know a lot of people, that's how I got to know you at the Abbey, and then through, being in the nightclub business on and off for 25 years. But UPS, the nightclub business, everybody, when I got out of the nightclub business, when I had Phoenix nightclub.
yeah, I think you had to carry me out of there a couple times.
No, I didn't. No, I didn't.
I know you did.
Yeah, like a sack of potatoes.
No.
You're like,
I
come
don't
on, Ash.
remember.
It's time to get out of here.
But, Backwaters was my favorite nightclub of all time.
Yeah.
Did you have anything to do with that?
Yeah, I was a DJ there.
Really?
I started off.
You don't remember?
I started off
I
as
was
a DJ.
super young. Backwaters was a blissful.
He didn't even know my full face until, because I was always like this on the DJ booth.
Right. I started off at a nightclub called the Odyssey. And then I worked there for 2 years. Then I went down to Jerry and Sonny Brockmiller when they were still married, and they opened up Backwaters. And I was there for 6 years, DJ'd, then I ended up running it. Then I got out of the business for a year and a half, and then I opened up Phoenix Nightclub. And then I had that for 7 years, got out of the business for 2 or 3 years, and then I opened up the barn. But that's a lot of people knew me from the nightclubs, and that was what was so funny because, what are you doing now, Steve? And I'm like, I'm working at UPS. They're like, oh, really? How long you been there? And I'm like,
Forever.
27 years.
Yeah.
It's going on, I think, my 28th year now that 29 years now I've been there. But a lot of people didn't know I actually had a real job. Everybody just thought I was a nightclub guy or, the nightclub owner or whatever. But, but you touched on the taxpayer dollars. That's my biggest thing is we all pay taxes. Mm-hmm. Yeah. And, I feel like we're paying tax on the tax that we've already been taxed for. And it's just, where does it end? And, we live in the worst state we possibly could next to New York or California. Right. And the money that we give out, whether it be the TIF money, and that was my big thing that I was standing up against,
You and me both.
If you can't afford something, you know what? When I opened up my first nightclub, I had $30,000 in my bank account. And I'm like, I'm either gonna make it or I'm gonna break it, and I smashed it, and I made my money back in it was less than a year.
Yeah.
And that was where I kind of steamrolled from there on, and it was the nightclub business has been very good to me up until 3 years ago, 3.5 years ago. But long story short, it's the whole taxing and tax dollars and the wastefulness. That's what I see in the city, and that's what I fight for. Is because I want people, and to get back on the whole the landfill. Where the landfill
how'd you
was
figure
at.
this out?
People message me. There's a lot of good people, and when I say that, I truly, truly mean it. There's people that message me. They say, "Hey, I want to be named. I don't want to be mentioned. I don't want my name, and I don't care whether it's Joe Schmo or I don't care if it's this person up here on the ladder here in town." They message me, and it makes me feel good because people are reaching out to me.
Yeah, you're like our superhero.
No, I'm a nobody.
Quincy Vigilante.
Yeah, there you go. There you go.
I'm a nobody. I'm just like anybody else. But I want this town to prosper because there is so many. You both have kids. Yeah. I don't have kids. I've never been married, never had kids. But I want tomorrow's future to have a good town because I feel like I grew up in the best era ever. Yeah. And I'm bolder than both of you ladies. Yeah. But I remember back in the day when the bars were full, the nightclubs were full, the restaurants were full, the mall was packed. Yeah. I grew up at a time where this town was just bumping, and now I drive down on a Friday night at 9 o'clock, Broadway's dead.
Yeah.
It's sad. It really is. And yet we try to get a downtown district here revitalized, and you're using taxpayer dollars to do it. And I never asked for any money when I opened up my nightclub. Yeah. If I can't open up a business and start it on my own.
Which was downtown.
Yeah, exactly. I said it for years. I said I generated more tax dollars in 7 years than all them businesses downtown combined generated. Yeah. I was having 700 people there, 500 to 700 people on a Saturday night. Yeah. I was only open 7 hours a week, 2 hours on a Friday night and 4 hours on a 3 hours on a Friday night and 4 hours on a Saturday night. But So,
When you tried reopening it, I remember I made a Facebook status about how the phoenix rises again from the ashes, and then you deleted me. But it was supposed to be.
It was supposed to be good stuff.
Yes.
Yeah.
I mean, the phoenix is.
Yeah. It was.
Right.
it's a mythological.
It was a mainstay for a lot of people, and not just as a bar and nightclub, but I think that's just where everybody hung out. So I want to get back to the landfill, but real quick. So, we talk about how, the bars, I mean, they were assholes to elbows when I worked there. Even, the mall, like you said, how much do you attribute that? I hate to say it was just a different time, but it was. But what do you attribute that the shift? Like nobody goes out anymore. It seems like people right? They just don't.
They don't. It's nothing. And do you remember her when she worked at the Abbey?
Yes.
I mean, I'm telling you, you worked with some of the best.
Oh yeah. We had the
people.
best crew.
I'm telling you.
And the Abbey was like a bar.
Yeah.
It
a
was.
bar.
It was, but it danced that fine line between like a nice establishment where you could really get shit faced and feel safe, right? But still get good food, have great service, and karaoke. So it was like it hit all the cool buttons, right?
Yeah.
And then it all just seemed to.
Do you think the smoking ban had anything to do with that? Because I thought the smoking ban made it better because the non-smokers like me were more apt to go out.
Yeah. I
don't know.
6-1, half dozen of the other. Okay. It's one of them things. But I remember back in the day when I used to go to the Casino Starlight, I would have to take my clothes off before I went into my place because otherwise
it reeked.
You reeked
Yeah.
from the
Oh, yeah.
Casino
Can you
Starlight.
still smoke in there?
I don't think it's open.
No, it's
No,
not.
I mean, I'm thinking the Mark Twain Casino, but can you still smoke in there?
Oh yeah, I think so. That's Missouri.
Missouri, sure.
But see, in Illinois, when I drank when I smoked, or I smoked when I drank. I smoked when I worked, and then when the ban hit, I was so worried about it because I didn't think anybody was coming out. They did, and obviously, that didn't. I mean, maybe it had a small effect, but it almost seems like the crew that was the regulars, right? The OGs, they grew up and had kids, and the ones coming up behind us they just weren't into it like we were, which good for them. But still, I kind of miss the, going into the Abbey, or, I mean, you can still go into Spring Street at any given time, but it's like, it's just not the same.
No, you'd look across the bar at the Abbey and you'd be yelling back and forth.
5 deep.
Yeah. 5 deep.
Yeah.
Every Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday.
Here comes Homan with trays of vodka bombs.
Vodka
just
bombs
for everybody.
and Jaeger bombs. Yeah, exactly. I mean, that was my pre-game and, going out, hey, come down to the Phoenix, tonight.
Yeah.
That was a time that will always be close to me in my heart.
So awesome.
And I had so many great workers and so many great people at Phoenix Nightclub. Even when I worked down at Backwaters, and I go down to Florida a lot, and there's a lot of the guys that were my bouncers or bartenders. I still go down there and I see them. I mean, I'm still friends with them, and that's been.
It was like a family. I think that's the thing that I miss, because you met so many people that were your customers that became friends. That when my kiddo told me that she wanted to work at the Abbey, I was like, do it. And everybody's like, really? What? I was like, do it. Like, you meet the best people working in a hometown bar. It's like,
the Abbey crew still, I mean, I know it's the younger crew that
it still hits,
They all travel together after they
they're
get off
amazing.
work and
because it
come down to
becomes
Spring.
it's like it is a family, and whether it's the people you work with or the people who come in, as patrons that leave as friends, it's awesome. But it just has changed. So I didn't want to like knock on that. I just want to be like it changed. So I do think there is a shift to downtown districts across. I mean, it seems almost everywhere that squares are being the focus, and I don't have a problem with that at all.
No,
it's more public dollars for private development. Is kind of where it's like, okay, do we need to do this? Can we come up with something different? Let's look at something, and I don't think it has to be black and white.
No,
right?
And that's when Dave Newsom. I knew I was getting out to people when Dave Newsom reached out to me and wanted to have a talk with me, and came down to Front Street a couple times and spoke with me about stuff and wanted my opinion on things and why I thought this way and why I thought that way and why I was so against TIF money. And I said, well, it's taxpayer dollars. I said, and he said, well, and people always want to give you that excuse. Well, it's grant money. Yeah, it's grant money. It's taxpayer dollars.
Yeah.
Well, if we don't use it, they're going to lose it. So what? Yeah. I mean, just so you want to take it and just be, part of the problem too?
It takes maintenance. You take that money and it takes maintenance. And if we can't afford or we can't take care of what we already have. Why are we biting off more? You know, you have $300,000 that they're giving you for a splash pad, but who's maintaining the splash pad?
Yeah.
You know, it's going to cost more money.
Exactly.
Well, and the other thing they like to say is, well, if we don't, in the state that it's bringing nothing as far as property taxes, right? And if we put money into it, then we'll get property taxes. But and that was kind of the only thing that I said is if we let one TIF expire just to see kind of see the proof in the pudding, then maybe more people would be on board with it. But it's like you just keep throwing this taxpayer incentive to these private businesses that we're not really seeing the fruition of what it's supposed to do, right? So maybe that's where it is, maybe not. But I think when you're bringing up back to the landfill thing, those are some of the big things, right? So we want to, if we don't even know what's going on in our neighborhood, but we want to build it up, then it's like, okay, maybe we should take a step back and figure out what we got going on here first.
Right. And let's finish on that whole topic because, okay, how I was informed about that was somebody reached out to me and they said, hey, Steve, you might want to check this out. You know, the city started removing all these truckloads of landfill, where the old landfill that was closed in 1973 over on North 36. And I said, okay, where's it at? They told me. So I went over there. It was on Tim Zanger's property, and I went over there one day when I was getting back from St. Louis, and I talked to Tim and everything, and he told me what they were doing, and he had the backhoe or the bucket, and he was loading it up into the city trucks. There was 5 city workers every day for 1 week, loaded. I don't know how many. I think it was 7. I think
5 to 7 tons.
Yeah,
I think is what
and
it
I think
said,
it was. They were getting 5. Well, I think it was 75 loads were taken over to 70 or 75 loads were taken over to the LaGrange landfill.
Yeah.
So I did the math. I figured out how much those trucks get per gallon. It's 15 miles over to the landfill. How much we're paying the city employees to do it, whatnot. It came out to be around $65,000 in 1 week we wasted of taking an old city landfill off this property. But my thing was, it was from everything that I found out, it was on Tim Zanger's property, and the city was going to remove it. Well, my thing is, he bought the property knowing that the landfill was there.
Oh, he knew?
That's what
Yeah, they had to disclose that, I think.
Yeah. And,
okay.
But they didn't disclose what was in it.
Well, yeah.
Or like the leachate or whatever, it's leachate mechanisms that were not put in place to take care of like the ground seepage or whatever.
Yeah, you're exactly right. Yeah. See, it wasn't lined or whatever. Back in the day, those landfills wasn't lined.
Yeah.
And
it's different standards, different
exactly.
different regulations.
The seepage and everything else. Well, I took, and I called down to City Hall and I asked for Jeff Conti, talked to Jeff. Jeff's a good guy. I think Jeff's a little bit stressed out. He's got he's got a full plate on stuff.
He is a good guy.
He is a good guy. You know, a lot of people talk a lot of crap about Jeff, and I think he's got a lot of stuff going on, and he's overworked, and I feel like the guy's probably underpaid. Mm-hmm. But anyways, I asked Jeff on a Friday. I said, Jeff, have you went over there and took water samples or sewer or soil samples? No, why? And I'm like, well, I said, because that landfill, there's a creek over there, and that's going into that water.
Yeah.
And 25 minutes he was over there, and he called me, hey, Steve, where's that creek at? And that's my whole thing. I got a friend out in Oklahoma, and she's friends with Aaron Brockovich.
Yeah, that's what you were saying.
And when I told Jeff, when I was talking to him, I said, Jeff, you want Aaron Brockovich to come to Quincy? No, I don't want Aaron Brockovich to come to Quincy.
We don't need a Hinckley here.
No. And I'm telling you what, my friend has been friends with her for a long time, and she said she'll get down to the business, the nitty gritty. Well, my thing is, like I told Jeff, I said, where's this water going out of this creek? Is it going down to the vet's home? Is that why we're having Legionnaire's disease? That problem they're having over there? Where is this going?
Yeah.
We need to find out, and we need to take water samples and soil samples. And I said, if my water samples and soil samples don't match up with your water and soil samples, I said, we're going to have a problem here.
Yeah.
And I called over to the EPA in Springfield, and as a matter of fact, I got to reach out to them tomorrow and see if they followed up, because they were going to send a crew over here to do some investigating.
That's what I was going to ask. So in the article, the mayor said that he and Jeffrey and some other people were going to meet and take care of that later that week. This article was like 2 weeks ago. So did you hear anything
No.
since then?
Nothing.
What about when you contacted the EPA? Did that, I mean, this is just hearsay, did that cost the city anything? Like, is the city fined?
I haven't. They asked me. They said, "Would you testify in court?" I said, "Absolutely, I would." And they wanted to know how I found out and what was going on. And I said, "Well, I sat out there and watched them for 2 hours remove dirt from there, and it's about an hour and a half process. By the time you load up, go over to LaGrange landfill, and come back." But it was just a process, and it was just taxpayer dollars that we wasted. At least $65,000 of taxpayer dollars that we wasted. But on top of that, I'm more concerned about where's that water going. That is
The
from
safety of
the safety
Yeah,
of it.
right.
That's
And
my
to
big
anyone
thing.
that it does say later on, if the city does get fined, by the EPA, and they're like, "Oh, well, Steve made that happen."
Yeah, no.
The city made that happen.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
that's not how that
Well,
works.
and it was stated in the article, I think it was Conti who was like, it's a city problem. I mean, we did it.
Yeah. Accountability.
Right, accountability.
Bingo.
And then I think it's
Good
up
man.
to Tim and the city to work that out. I do appreciate you bringing light to it because, again, it's something that maybe we wouldn't have known. A lot
And
of
who
people,
knows, like, the safety behind it,
Right.
how far that would have gone.
well, and a lot of people may not care if you don't. Pay no mind. But if you are concerned about your community, if you're concerned about the safety, if you're concerned about the transparency, the accountability, I highly recommend following Steve, at least his live posts. You will not only get some education, you'll also get some entertainment, aka the motorcycle Trump sign, which I wish we would have gotten to. Also, the spitting on by the panhandlers.
Yeah.
There are. It just seems like. You
need to house these.
Yeah.
So,
So you attract the controversy, but I think it does you good because it gives you a platform to talk about what the issues are, right?
Well, and I don't know if I attract it, but I go out. When
You seek it out?
Yeah, and
Yeah.
I seek it out.
Yeah, nothing wrong with that.
I want the truth, and I want to know
Yeah.
why these people are out here panhandling when they can go out and get a job.
Yeah. Right.
We all work. Why can't you?
Yeah.
You can hold that sign. You can surely go serve a drink or make a McDonald's sandwich.
and we all know we do need more employees, right? We need more
Yes.
people who are willing to work in this
all
community.
those,
Yes.
yeah,
So, not to wrap it up because I could sit here and talk to you all day, but I definitely appreciate you as an individual, as a Quincyan, as someone who stands up for what's right. And yeah, if you don't follow Steve, you definitely should. Mr. Steve Homan, you have been an absolute delight. I look forward to seeing everything that you uncover in the future, and I hope you keep us posted on the landfill and everything else that you've unearthed.
I appreciate
Right?
it. Well, the one thing I want to say, and I want to reach this out to people.
Yeah.
Get involved in the city. Get involved in your ward. Wars are won in numbers. I feel sometimes like a one-legged man in an ass-kicking contest, and I'm getting my ass kicked sometimes. But we all have to. I know some people don't want to speak and they don't want their names brought up, but
Yeah.
you have to get involved. If you want change, you have to get involved. And not tooting my own horn, but I feel like there's been a lot of people in the last 6 months, 9 months, whatever it's been, that's actually started coming to city council meetings and starting to speak up and getting a hold of their aldermen and stuff. And it takes guts to do it. And I just want to thank the city of Quincy, and I want to thank the community for doing that. And that's what it takes. That's what we're here for. We want to make this town a better town.
Absolutely.
So.
Yeah, sometimes all we need is somebody to set the example, right? There you go. Do you think you'll ever be called the example?
The Phoenix.
All right, yeah.
The example.
Right?
The Quincy
There you
vigilante.
go. Love it. All right. Large in size and a personality, Mr. Steve Homan. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Cheers.